Hi, my name's Emma, and I have an energetic healing business. My main focus is animals, although I do see humans too from time to time, but I have always had a real passion for animals. Ever since I was little, I've wanted to work with them. I wanted to be a vet. That didn't really resonate, so I followed the energetic healing path. And a couple of years ago, I decided to actually launch a business and do this as a career. However, I have been reading books and doing various courses over the past 30-something years to teach myself how to be an animal communicator. It just seems like a natural thing to have communication added to the healing work that I do, because I mean, it would be absolutely awesome to be able to get the animal to tell me perhaps where they were sore, what they were feeling, and also to sometimes discover the reasons why something is happening, because they're not always what we think they are. So when Nikki reached out to me, I was a little bit different to some of the other people in that I already had my own business, but I, at that stage, thought I wasn't communicating with animals. So the reason why I joined is because after 30-something years, it was like, I don't know, I can't get this, I can't do it. Why am I still battling? If this is a passion with mine, surely I can do this. And because her course was set up specifically for people who wanted to actually turn their animal communication skills into a business, this really resonated with me. And I thought, well, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what's going to happen. Nikki's program was pretty powerful. And I think it was really, they're diving in from the very first class into a practice session. I mean, you know, most courses you go on to and you kind of do a little bit of theory, or you learn about something in some way, shape, or form, and then you start putting it into practice. But from the get-go, we had time to do a practice session. And I think the practice sessions, I think almost chucking us in the deep end, as Nikki did, was very, very transformative, because for me, it was like, wow, this is the first one. And, you know, it didn't matter that it was basic things, but everybody in the room that we were practicing with this one animal, we were all getting very similar messages. And of course, those were validated afterwards by the person whose animal it was. And I think that really, really just sowed the seeds, you know, because you go in there, this is not like learning something where you do a computer package or something like that. This really is working in the unseen realms, and it's very much having this belief in yourself, and it's very different. It just is, it's a unique space to try and be learning a skill in, because there is nothing really tangible like when you're learning things sort of in the day-to-day workspace that we are used to and the world that we are used to. This is a little bit out there for a lot of people. So it's in the belief in yourself, for me, is almost key, because you are what you think you are. And if you keep telling yourself that you can't do something, you're never going to be able to do it. So by chucking us in the deep end on that first day and us all coming away and going, wow, I actually got the personality right. I saw the dog's toy. I saw this, I saw that. And even if it's something that only twigged for me like a couple of days later, which I had those experiences, it really just made me see that I was actually able to do that. And that belief in self is absolutely key. Since then, what I've been doing is I've been asking animals questions during my healing sessions, and specific questions. And it has been so, so magical. And what I also realized in taking Nikki's course is that I was already receiving communication, but I didn't know that I was. I was dismissing things. And this was critical for me, because number one, we had the space to practice in, and then immediately have that information validated or verified, or saw where we were going wrong. Critical, because I'd been trying to do this on my own and reading books for so many years, and people not really giving me the feedback that I needed. And it's really important when you start this that you actually have that validation, because it builds the confidence and it builds your sort of telepathic muscle and that kind of thing. And secondly is that from all the books that I had read over the years, it was almost like I was expecting these telepathic messages to come through in a certain way. And for me, because I'm a very visual person, I almost expected to see them like a movie going through my head, or I guess like a more a clairvoyant type of thing. And it was like, well, I am an empath. So my first mode of communication with the world and with everything around me is feeling and knowing. And so what this course really did is I was almost waiting for the images, and yet when I looked back and I had some of the things getting that I was getting right in these sessions, I suddenly realized that they weren't images. And when I actually tapped into, well, how are they coming through, I realized that they were feelings, knowings, sometimes thoughts dropping in, but very few actual images. So for me, I have spent the last 30 something years almost waiting for this, when all of this was going on over here, and I've just not been aware of it. So what Nikki's program did for me is bring awareness to the fact that I was receiving information in a way that I had not realized up until that moment. And the surprising thing is that since then, I have had one animal that has sent me a message that I knew it was something to do with reincarnation, but I just almost was like backpedaling to get out of the session and end it. And I got two very specific things around a name and around a time span, or like an age. And when I relayed, I decided to then actually share that with my the person who I was doing this practice reading for. And the name, even though it wasn't exact, sounded like the name of an animal that she had had. And when I gave her the number 10, she said that she was 10 years old when she had this animal of hers, this childhood animal that was near and dear to her heart. And I said to her, well, I can't tell you how I know this, but I just know when the animal was communicating this with me that it is something to do with a reincarnation. And it made perfect sense to her that some 50 odd years later, her childhood soul animal has now reincarnated into another physical body to be with her at this time. And that was the most surprising thing for me, because I put it out there and was really uncomfortable with it, and it turned out to be spot on for her, and just was the most amazing thing about the session. And yet it was the one thing that I was terrified to share. So for anybody that's wanting to learn animal communication or interspecies communication, I found Nikki's course very practical. As I say, chucked in the deep end from the beginning. No, it almost like the chucking in of that doesn't allow you to almost talk yourself out of it. It doesn't allow the brain to come in with its limiting beliefs and its inner critic, which it often does, and then we find ourselves being talked out of things. It was very practical. The way it was divided, there were tips if you are completely new to this and you've not done any meditation, you are unaware of sort of the impact that certain chemicals and things may be having on your body and also on your channel, because you really need to try and clear your energetic space and your physical body space so that you are a clear channel to actually receive and send the messages. So there was a lot of very practical stuff on it, and then it built on, and we went into, then how to ask questions. How might these things be coming in? And that was also really important, because I didn't realize that there would be often a time that I would think about something my animals got, or something around somebody in my family, and then I would almost go, well, come on, brain, get out the way. I don't know why this is happening. But the animals communicate with us using sometimes things called shortcuts. And instead of them trying to explain something, I now know that if I think of one of my animals' toys, that often is that animal is using a shortcut to get to me, to show me that they have a similar toy or something like that, which I didn't actually realize was happening until I took Nikki's course. So there were some real nuggets in there where you don't, it's creating, I guess, the awareness of how all of these messages come in, and how the animal can sometimes just send you something really quickly without having to explain. It makes so much sense, because why wouldn't they do that? So for anybody that wants to take a really comprehensive course and not allow their brain to get in the way, to really be practical from the get-go, and to just really learn about how to send and receive information and all the different ways that it can happen, and just expand yourself out into just sitting with all this information, and then also just processing it at your own pace. It is a nice pace. And the other thing about the program is, of course, we have lifetime access. And so I still attend when I can, because obviously I run a business and it's not always possible, but we still have the Q&As, and we still have the practice corners that go on every single month. And it's great, because also what's really nice about those practice corners is when there is a lot of you all focusing your energy and your attention on that one animal, it's actually easier for the information to come through. It's almost like a group meditation where you have all of your, where you have many of you focusing your attention and intention and energy onto one specific point. And that, it's a little bit more difficult when you try and do the animal on your own, because you realize you haven't got that group energy. But having that group energy is really the kickstart that you need to actually, you know, that you can do this. You learn this in the very first communication session, that even if it's just one thing, you've got one thing right, and everybody in the group got at least one thing right. In fact, I don't think any of us got only one thing right. So really, really important to almost start there where it's a little bit easier, because as I say, that builds your confidence, and then you know that you can do it. And then it's a case of just the practicing, because even every session that I do now, there's something new that comes in for me. And that's why the awareness is key. It's almost trying to attune yourself to just be aware of how everything comes in, and to not dismiss anything, even if it's coming in a new way from what it's done over the past 8 weeks or 12 weeks or however long it's been, because we are constantly evolving, adapting, and our channel, and I think our senses are constantly becoming more honed in that. So these little practice corners and the Q&A obviously gives you the opportunity that maybe a question pops up that you didn't think about while you were doing the course, which is great. And the practice sessions give you the safe space to continue to do the practice sessions with people where you know you're going to get immediate feedback, you know they're in the same boat as you, you know it's going to be honest, and it's just really the safe space, so that when I am working with my clients, I feel confident to be able to share those messages. And everything that I have shared with my clients has really resonated. It's made a difference, and it's just adding another layer to the healing sessions that I do. And it's been awesome doing Nikki's course, because I realized that even though I've been healing for many years now, is that the animals were communicating with me anyway, and I've only just come across that realization. So when I thought I wasn't able to communicate with animals, I actually was already doing it. So that's the other piece of advice for anybody out there who is already maybe doing something in this field, is this just steps you up and just creates that awareness, so that you can know that you actually can do this. And I think a lot of us actually we are doing it. So I hope that's helped for anybody who just wanted a quick rundown of Nikki's course. It was awesome. She's really no nonsense. She tells it like it is. And it was a great experience. And obviously working with all the people in the group, we all have animals' best interests at heart. We have a special interest in animals. And it's also awesome to be part of that community, and to help each other along the way, especially when we get stuck or we might be having a bad week or we feel like our sessions are just going wrong. We're all there to support one another, and that's also really important. So I think it's a very valuable course for anybody to take that has an interest in being a voice for the animals. And if, I mean, my whole mission is, apart from helping the animals, is to change the way people see um, and work with animals. They are souls just like we are. They're just in different suits. And really, really important. These animal communication sessions are just, people always go, wow, I didn't know my animal was so deep. And, you know, I kind of go, well, why wouldn't you? Why? But of course, just because I know that, it doesn't mean they know that. And that's the beauty of this work, is that everybody starts to look at their animal differently. It's not just a dog or a cat or a horse or a this or whatever it is. You start really seeing that animal for the sentient soul that they are, that is just like me, just like all of us. So thank you for letting me share my story, and I hope it's useful. And I encourage anybody who wants to really do this to work with Nikki and take her course. Thank you.